why is Kent State so bad? For those that don't watch as much college football as maybe we do, why is Kent State so bad? I'll give you a couple of reasons because I've done some homework on Kent State. But why do you think that they actually could be the worst team that Tennessee has ever played?
It's twofold. Kent State has made, I think, far and away the worst hire in the history of college football in Kenny Burns.
Burns.
I think he's the worst head coach in college football. He was a running backs coach at Minnesota, took the job at Kent State, and I've told you guys this before, but I said two things. He said he doesn't want great recruiters on his staff. He said he wants great evaluators, which is part of recruiting, but okay. Right. And then he also said that
it wasn't with Butch, though. In all fairness, Butch would go by recruiting rankings. He didn't have a good evaluating staff. He was more happy. Either he was ignorant or he was more happy about a 4-star he had questions about than a 3-star he felt really good about.
Yeah, but he wasn't going to tell you that. He wanted to pretend he evaluated him. Okay. So, and then Kent State also, Kenny Burns said that he doesn't like to see the field from an analytical perspective. He's not a play caller. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I know I do understand there are plenty of position coaches who have gone directly to head coaches and were never coordinators. But if someone says they don't like to ever call plays, that's a giant red flag. Even those guys would say, I could do that. Like, yeah, like any position coach to head coach would probably say, David, right? Would say, well, yeah, I wasn't a coordinator, but it's not like I couldn't have been one. That's what they would have said, right?
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 really easy ways to determine that Kent State's historically bad. And that is their ranking in total offense and defense, which coincidentally is the same. There are 134 teams in Division I. So their ranking is the same on both sides of the ball, total offense and defense. Caleb, you want to guess what that is?
I do believe they're 126th in total defense. Was I close?
They're 126 in both, baby. So give them that. They're consistent.
That is some real consistency. Well, also, and let's just add this: they have, I kid you not, in their brilliance, Kenny Burns, the play caller he did hire for offensive coordinator is a guy named Mark Carney, who was the offensive coordinator to Will Healy's staff at Charlotte for 3 years, from 2020 to 2022. Never had an offense ranked higher than 91st. That's what Kenny Burns like. That's who I want to rebuild this program at Kent State on offense, guys. Guys, they're horrible. Okay. They're horrible.
They are. So well, I'll give you this too. They got beat by St. Francis. I didn't know St. Francis had a football team.
That's the other point. And by the way, they weren't even close.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask you this. What's the worst team you've ever seen Tennessee play? Because mine's easy. I'll go ahead and throw mine out there. If you want to think about it, it's Louisiana Monroe, where Tennessee beat them 70-3. And I think I told the story yesterday that Philip Fulmer muttered under his, I may have said it off the air, so I'll repeat it. He muttered under his breath that somebody asked him about calling off the dogs, or did Kent State protect the punter ban? He's like, okay, we could have blocked every one of those. So they could have literally lined up and blocked every punt. They could have held Louisiana Monroe to negative. I kid you not. They could have scored 100 points, held them to negative yardage, and blocked every punt. I'm not exaggerating. If they wanted to, if somebody told Philip Fulmer that he gets $10 million if you beat Louisiana Monroe by 100, he would have done that. So, Caleb, what are some of the worst teams that you've seen in Tennessee football history? As I remind you that Medicare Misty is registered in over 40 states. Free Medicare advice, and we'll visit with her later in the week. Caleb's worst teams and yours as well on the message board in 30 seconds.
19 years this year. Well, I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
All right, so let me ask you this. Is Kent State the worst of all time? And if not, who is?
All right, so I'll list the worst team I've seen them play to this point, and then I'll get my take on Kent State. But so the worst team I saw them play was one that we covered together, Dave. It was 2 years ago when Tennessee played Akron, where they took the low shot at Cedric Tillman. That Akron team, for those who don't know, was in its first year under new head coach Joe Moorhead, who is, I don't think is a bad coach, but was installing a new offense and was cleaning up a mess left by a very familiar name, Tom Arth, who was
Manning's backup, former UTC coach, thought he was the next Bill Belichick. Let me say something about that blowout against Akron, and you bring up a very good point. This is why you don't blow somebody out like Kent State. So somebody could say, you're not playing them next year. What does it matter? Those things get chippy, and that was a questionable shot when Tillman got hurt. So, Caleb, you don't want to get in a chippy contest where you hurt someone's integrity and character and embarrass them. Or some of their guys, out of 85 dudes, somebody's going to get dirty, and then you can get a player hurt and it affects your season.
No, that's very true. That's very true. Honestly, Heupel should have purposely tried to run up the score against Akron after that, though. Just tried to drop 80. But it was, that was absolutely brutal what they did to them. That was a really bad team. Now, but I'm going to go, and I remember that Louisiana Monroe game, by the way. That was Casey Clausen, the first time we saw action. And I'll actually never forget sitting with my brother because AJ Suggs started, or Joey Matthews started the season, then AJ Suggs. And I'll never forget looking at my brother being like, I know it's Louisiana Monroe, but I think Casey Clausen's the best of these quarterbacks. And then he became the starter 3 weeks later. I think Kent State's going to end up being the worst team Tennessee's ever played, the largest gap. Now, I got a bit of history for you guys. The largest blowout win Tennessee ever enjoyed was back in 1914 when they had their first championship season. They went 9-0. It was the first year they beat Vanderbilt. It was the first year they won a title. They won the SIAA. They were led by Zora G. Clevenger that year. They beat Carson Newman 89-0.
How could you beat an in-state Christian school 89-0?
And back in those days when there was no scoring in football.
I mean,
what the? Release the hounds. The Dave Hooker Show. Keep cool. A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
Yes, I had to play that because that's in honor of my great-grandfather who was the head pastor at Carson Newman for a number of years. There's a plaque hanging in his name, Reverend P.H. Hooker. So why are you taking it out on Carson Newman, for goodness sake?
They beat Carson Newman 89-0 that year. They beat Louisville 66-0 that year, and they beat Chattanooga 67-0 that year. But they beat Vanderbilt only 16-14. But that's a different take altogether. But it was a pretty big blow up. But Dave, should Tennessee go for the record this week? Should Tennessee go for 90?
Well, I'm going to put it as our poll question. So the record would be 90.
Yes. If they won 90-0, they would be the biggest blowout in Tennessee history. Should Tennessee go for it?
No, because of the reason I just gave you. Some punk will. Every team has punks. Some punk will take a cheap shot and cost Tennessee a player for the remainder of the year, and you don't want that.
Pull your starters. You can still go for 90. Okay, you could put Navy Schuler in and go for 90.
Differentiate starters nowadays. I mean, Tennessee is really too deep. Are you talking about putting your 3 deep in there?
Yes.
Well, see, then they could score a couple of points, and I don't know why you would do that.
I don't think they can. Guys, they're a bad football team. Navy Schuler and Gaston Moore and Jake Merklinger, all 3 backup quarterbacks, would start on Kent State right now. This is a horrible team. Go for 90. Give your kids something to play for. Tell Nico, because you got to get him up for the game, right, Dave? So tell Nico and tell the kids, be like, hey, We're trying to go for 90 here. We need you guys to score a lot in the first quarter.
Do
it.
These dudes could be hung over and still beat them by 50. I mean, it is that bad. Okay, so I'll ask the question of our message board. Should the Vols run up the score against Kent State? Yes.
Oh, wait, phrase it differently. Should they go for 90 against Kent State? Should they go for the record?
Should the Vols go for a record 90? That is, Caleb, wouldn't that hurt you more in terms of the national media than it would help you?
Not if you pull your starters.
Do you think the media out in Oregon or the Northeast is looking at the fourth quarter to see who's in the game?
Who cares? Who cares? Do it. Get your backups a chance to rack up some stats, man. You're playing the worst team of all time that you've ever played.
Okay, here are my choices. No, it will get chippy. Yes, I love it. And lastly, I'm going to add in there, no, it's just bad sportsmanship. So I am helping straw man, steel man, whatever the heck you used to call it. I'm giving myself a better opportunity because I got 2 no's. All right, so the poll question is up right now. Should the Vols go for a record 90 points against Kent State? Yes, I love it. No, it will get chippy. No, it's bad sportsmanship. Right off the bat, somebody says, yes, I love it. I'm going to say both. No, it will get chippy, and no, it's just bad sportsmanship.
I'll say this in your favor. Because people are bringing it up on the message board now, so we should just point out the elephant in the room. No pun intended, since he coached at Alabama. Nick Saban is an alum of Kent State. He is on ESPN now, and he does have a voice in the commissioner's ear. You think Nick Saban would take some revenge out on Tennessee if he could, if Tennessee humiliated his alma mater?
I don't know. I think you're reaching a little bit there. I mean, how would he take revenge on Tennessee?
I don't know. Maybe he's in the commissioner's ear. He's saying, hey, give Tennessee a tougher schedule next year. Be a little unfair to them.
I will tell you this, and we didn't play it, but his statement about the Vols carried a lot of weight. He said any SEC team is going to have trouble handling this team, and I thought he meant that. And he said that before the NC State game. I think he's very calculated. I also wonder a little bit if he doesn't want Kirby Smart to fail moving forward and not make a run at his championship record.
I mean,
out a little bit.
Don't the GOATs always feel that way? I can guarantee you that Michael Jordan has been rooting against LeBron his entire career for that. And I can guarantee you Michael's been rooting it. Tom Brady will root against Patrick Mahomes from here on out for the rest of his life because he doesn't want Patrick Mahomes to chase that legacy. And I think that's just what they do. You don't think, like, I will never forget when Mark McGwire hit his 60-second home run when he broke Maris's record, and Maris's family was all there, and they were trying to be very classy to congratulate him. But they're like, oh, my father's record's broken. And then we found out Mark McGwire cheated to break their record, so they probably feel even worse about it now.
Yeah, well, they feel good about it now because a Yankee holds that record, and that's Aaron Judge.